During my work with clients, we very often come across situations where they have to have difficult conversations. Normally, those difficult conversations are with members of their organization, they may be with large clients, but the common theme is that there is a real apprehension around having the conversation. And normally what happens is the conversation gets put off and put off and put off, and so it becomes worse. It becomes a bigger issue. It becomes something that in the client's mind has really started to become significant and is something that starts to paralyze them as they think about trying to address it. And there are a number of tips that I have for handling difficult conversations. I'm going to go into those in the next video. But in this first discussion about having a difficult conversation, I wanted to start with managing ourselves. When we are looking to have a difficult conversation with somebody, the first thing that starts to happen is that we start to feel anxiety, stress, and fear. And we don't always recognize it as fear because we don't want to talk about fear. None of us want to admit that we're afraid or worried or concerned. Perhaps we would say worry or concerned, but fear is a word that we don't use very openly very often. But that's what's happening. We start to become fearful of the conversation, and so we put it off, and then it gets worse. And if, for example, it's addressing poor behaviors in the workplace, then we don't address it initially because we're fearful of the conversation and perhaps we don't know how to handle it. And then what happens next is that that person's behavior starts to deteriorate further. And then we think, oh, I wish we'd dealt with it earlier because it was just one thing to deal with. Now we've put it off. There are multiple things that we have to address, or multiple behaviors or issues that we have to address. But managing ourselves is the first step. So how do you do that? The first thing you have to do is recognize what's going on. So become aware of the thoughts in your mind and the stress that you're creating for yourself. And most of the time that is going to be us overemphasizing how bad the situation is or overemphasizing the reaction from the other person. And then we start to go into that situation stressed. The answer is to go in calm. And how do you go in calm? Well, one of those things you do is manage yourself. So you manage your thoughts and you manage your emotions and your reaction to the situation. Now, there's a number of things you can do, one of which is to focus on why you're doing it. And very often the reason why you're doing it is because actually that behavior, the difficult conversation, needs addressing because it's having a detrimental impact on other people. If you start to focus on the positive impact behind the conversation after you've had the conversation, so actually the reason I'm doing this is because it needs to happen to improve the working environment for everybody. It needs to happen because, insert reason here, but that focus starts to make you recognize the need to do it. Then if you start to think about the positive outcome of having had that conversation, so it will enable future conversations, it will enable the team to feel more comfortable, it'll enable me to address it again in future more easily because I'm going to leave the door open to have that conversation. And we'll talk about how to do that in the next video. But up front, managing yourself, thinking about why you're doing it, being clear on the outcome that you want, recognizing that that outcome is positive, that will help you manage yourself going into the situation. And then practically what you can do is really focus on your breathing. Our breathing is the thing that really exaggerates where we are in a situation and the emotions that we feel. And if we are breathing in a shallow manner right from the top of our chests, that our body recognizes that as stress. So now we must feel stressed. If we take a long, deep breath into our diaphragm and repeat those long, deep breaths, our body says, hold on a minute, that breathing pattern means I should feel relaxed, and you will start to feel relaxed. So this first video is, in terms of managing difficult conversations, manage yourself going in. In the next video, I'm going to talk about a 5-step structure that's going to help you manage that conversation more effectively. Okay, I hope that's useful for you. I'd love to hear your feedback on this and how you manage yourself going into those difficult situations. Or if you're putting a difficult conversation off, then I'd love to hear from you. And if I can help, then I'd love to do that. But I'll see you on the next video where we'll talk about the 5 steps in the process. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next video.